Yo, what's up everybody, Jumpin' here, and I am back on some Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the Turian agent, which is a brand new infiltrator that we got with patch 106. And just by the way, I absolutely love this new patch. The last time they came out with a patch, I did an epic rant on how much I hated it, but not this time. I actually really do enjoy this patch, and I'll talk about that when we get to the gameplay. But for now, we're going to talk about this brand new class, because let me tell you, this class is fucking awesome. Definitely one of the best infiltrators in the entire game, and I can honestly say I had so much fun leveling him up and then of course playing with him at level 20. He's super freaking good, so I highly recommend trying this guy out if you haven't already, but he is brand new, so maybe not everybody will have him. So let's go ahead and get into the build now. Now, starting with the weapon, I'm going to recommend the Hurricane. That's what I'm going to be using in this gameplay. But you can use any weapon you want because he's an infiltrator, and a fucking piece of dog shit is really good on an infiltrator. It really does not matter. But if you guys don't know, the thing is, faster firing guns are extremely good with your traditional infiltrator with tactical cloak, because you're going to have bonus damage after you cloak. And you're talking about maybe 3 seconds total of extra damage, which is like almost 100% more damage. So basically, it's like you're ammo glitching for like 3 seconds, and it's extremely good, especially with a gun like the Hurricane, or like I said, any really fast-firing gun. So it's up to you on what you want to use. You can use any weapon you want, but in this gameplay, I'm going to be using my Hurricane 10, and trust me guys, oh my god, I got so lucky with this gun. I got it. It was my very first N7, and I got so many of these fucking things. And in my opinion, it's one of the best guns in the entire game. But right now, they have patched all these guns, and so many guns are just really good. So like I said, you could use really anything you want. Now, a secondary weapon, I just use the Talon. I don't really bust it out much, but I do like this weapon a lot, and I always talk about it. You guys know that. And for the equipment, I recommend the engineering kit. One thing that they did is they actually doubled the damage you get off of that. So it's 30%. And this guy's going to have Flamethrower, which is an amazing tech power. So by increasing that damage on the Flamethrower by 30%, it's well worth it. I don't really think you really need to like up your damage for your pistol by 10%. I'd rather get the Flamethrower damage any day of the week. Now moving on to the consumable, in this video I'm going to be using a Tech Power Amp 3 and Disruptor Ammo 3. Now the Tech Power Amp is going to increase the damage of your Flamethrower, and like I said before, that's really good. You definitely want to increase that damage if possible. And Disruptor Ammo is really good because when you're using a fast-firing gun, you're going to apply that ammo effect really, really rapidly. So if you're doing like a lot of combos with your teammates and stuff, definitely you want an ammo. If not, you can always just use a weapon booster or something like that just to do more damage. But in this video, we're going to be doing a lot of combos, and combos were buffed. But really, every power in this game was buffed by a lot. So I am just really, really digging the powers now, and the combos are just great. So because he has Flamethrower, Flamethrower is great at setting up a bunch of fire explosions. So you're going to be seeing a lot of combos in this gameplay. Now, moving on to the build, this is pretty much it. This guy has one new power, okay? And here's the deal. I'm not a big fan of the new power, but I do think it's always useful. Why? Because you can see enemies behind walls, and the main thing is you can see invisible enemies. That means that if you're going to use this guy against the Kef, he's actually really good because you can see all the invisible enemies if you use the recon visor. Now, the only thing good about this, though, I think, if you actually decide to level it up, I really do like the accuracy and stability bonus you can get. And I also like the fact that when you shoot an enemy, you'll weaken their armor. That's extremely good, but is it really worth it when he has so many things that are just so great? I mean, come on now. He's got Cloak, he's got Flamethrower, he's got Apex training, and support system is really good as well. So I just think that if you're going to skip one power, I would say skip the Recon Visor. You could still use it, and it still is useful, and especially is really good against the Kef. So that's my personal recommendation. I can see this maybe being good with like a sniper build where you're going to snipe enemies behind walls and stuff. That's something you can try, but I really don't recommend it personally. Flamethrower is a really close range power, so normally you're going to want to use something a little bit more close range with this guy, and I really wouldn't recommend a sniper rifle. If this power was like Geth Hunter mode, where it gave you gun damage, power damage, and all that, he would be the best guy in the game. There's no doubt. He would be the new Geth Infiltrator, but he's not. So just keep that in mind. Recon Visor is good, and it's useful, but I don't really recommend leveling it up. Now moving on to Cloak, we're going to go for the damage bonus. We're going to go for the movement speed, which is actually really good because you're going to see that in a little bit. This guy can get 35% movement speed while he is cloaked. That is really awesome. Now, this is where shit's going to get a little bit interesting because there is something going on with Cloak, and I need to talk about it just so you can understand it because this is kind of important. Now, I go for Combat Cloak. Now, here's the deal. What this says is that you are going to do extra damage for 2 seconds after you shoot or use a power or something. So for an extra 2 seconds, you get the damage bonus. That's actually not the case. From my understanding, it has been tested and people have proved that no matter what, you still get the damage bonus just by the default. And this was the way it worked in Mass Effect 3 as well. You go into Cloak and then you have about maybe 3 seconds total when you shoot and then you come out of Cloak to do bonus damage. So because of that, most of the time I would recommend Escape Artist just because it can be more useful for you. But for this build, I actually still like this. Because if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, if that's bugged or glitched or it doesn't work the way that you would think it would work, what's the point of getting Combat Cloak? Well, the thing is that you get the damage when you uncloak for the 2 seconds, even if you're not cloaked anymore, but you are no longer cloaked. So with this will actually make it so that you are going to be cloaked for an extra 2 seconds, which is really useful with Flamethrower, because one of the big strategies with this build, you're going to want to go ahead and cloak, then you're going to want to use Flamethrower, and you're going to get bonus damage for about 3 seconds as you're using Flamethrower, and you're also cloaked for that time. And what's going to happen is, you're going to affect the enemies with the fire, they're going to burn, and then they're not going to shoot you because the whole time you're setting them up for the fire, they won't see you. So by the time that they do see you, they're already burning, and now you can just shoot them, and they're not a real threat to you. So that's the reason why I go for this, but there's other things you can do with this build if you want to try it out with Escape Artist. So just remember, no matter what, you're going to get the damage bonus, even if you don't have Combat Cloak. And trust me, as I was leveling this guy up, I can honestly say that is the case, because I definitely noticed every time I would cloak, if I shot an enemy, or if I used Flamethrower, for like 3 seconds, I was doing like a lot of extra damage, and then the damage would go down. So I would say that this definitely is the case, but I still recommend Combat Cloak just because of the Flamethrower, and if not that, go for Escape Artist, and I'll show you something else you can do with Escape Artist as well. Now moving on to the Flamethrower, pretty much you have 2 options with this build. You can go for your power damage build or your universal weapon build. That's what I call it. And the reason I call it the universal weapon build is because it's really good against all factions, okay? It's always going to be good, especially if you're playing with randoms and stuff like that. The universal weapon build is going to absolutely destroy everything. Now, the power build is really, really good against the Outlaw, and it's really, really good against the Remnant. But it's not really good against the Kef because they have shields. They have a lot of shields. And when you're using Flamethrower on something with shields, it doesn't really work that great. So against the Outlaw, there's really no shields, just the sharpshooters. And against the Remnant, it's really just the Observers and, of course, the Destroyers. That's it. So most things you're going to be able to set on fire, and it's really not a big problem. But against the Kef, you're going to have issues. So just keep that in mind. I personally recommend the weapon build over the power build. But I'll show you both because I'm sure some people are going to be interested in the power build. Just understand, with the power build, you will fucking melt everything. The Krogan Mercenary was always a great build. But honestly, he's just not that good anymore because now the Turian Agent is here. And the Turian Agent is like fucking way, way better. So, if you're going for the weapon build, I recommend recharge speed. The reason why is because what you're going to be doing with flamethrowers, you're going to be setting them up and setting them on fire, and then the second they are burning, you're going to stop using it and then shoot them. So that's kind of the idea. So if you have recharge speed, this actually comes back really quick. So every time you come across a group of enemies or you come across an enemy, you'll like always have your flamethrower and you'll always be able to burn them and then stun them so that you can then shoot them. That's kind of the idea. Now, if you're going for the power build, you're definitely going to want the damage. Now, no matter what, I still recommend reach on both builds. And the reason why is because this does not increase the radius. This will increase the range of flamethrowers. So you can actually be really far away, and this will still affect the enemies. So in my opinion, reach is definitely better than the lingering burn. This is really good too. Trust me, it is good. But I just think that the reach is just way, way better because you have to see it to understand. The range of this power is insane once you have reach. Now finally, for the weapon build, definitely go for Blinding Heat. This is going to reduce the enemy's damage by 50%. So the whole idea is that if there's a group of enemies, you're going to be cloaked, and you're going to remain cloaked, remember, because you have combat cloak. You're going to use your flamethrower to stun all the enemies and affect all of them, and then you're just going to shoot them all. And even if they're not burning anymore, they're going to be doing less damage to you, so they will probably not kill you. This guy, like, really never dies if you play him right. Now, if you're going for the power build, 100% anti-armor. Against the Outlaw, this is great. Against the Revenant and, like, nullifiers and things like that, you will fucking destroy them if you have the power build. Now, moving on to the Apex training, and this is where things also change up. If you're going to go for the weapon build, obviously go for the weapons damage. And no matter what, definitely go for the headshot damage and the spare ammo for both builds. And for the weapon build, of course, you're going to want to get the weapon specialist. If you're going for the power build, though, you're going to go for the power damage on both of these. So that's the real difference here. If you have the power build, go for power damage. If you have the weapon build, go for weapon damage. Now, for support systems, the first one you're going to want to get is going to be duration. Now, duration is really good because this will affect all your durations for pretty much every effect that you have. So duration is really, really nice just because, like I said, it's going to increase even your passives. From my understanding, duration will actually increase a lot of your passives and stuff. And if that is the case, that's really good. If you want a melee, you can always go for melee. It's up to you. But I just think duration is much better. Moving on, we're going to get health and shields and movement speed. So if you have Tactical Cloak on, you're going to have a 35% movement speed. And that is fucking awesome. And finally, we're going to go for Tech Sabotage. It's the same thing with Blinding Heat. Anytime you hit an enemy with a power, you're going to debuff them. And they're going to do 30% less damage. Combine this with the Blinding Heat, that's 80% less damage. So if you're playing on even Platinum, the enemies are a fucking joke. So yes, this is really, really good if you want to debuff the fuck out of enemies. Now earlier, I did say there was something you can do with your cloak, which is go for Escape Artist. Now if you want to do that, there's a really kind of cool thing you can do with that. You go for Shield Reset instead of Tech Sabotage. Remember, you still are going to debuff the enemy's damage by 50%, and that is a lot. So maybe you don't need the 80% debuff. So there is a possibility that you might want to just go for Escape Artist instead. And if you do that, if you go for Shield Reset, what you can do is every time you cloak, you will actually start to get your shields back. So you become so fucking tanky and beefy, and it's like super hard for the enemies to kill you. And I mean, it's fucking awesome. So anytime you use a power, either Cloak or if you use Flamethrower, you will actually start to get your shields back. But it's only once every 10 seconds, so just keep that in mind. And Cloak is the better power because when you Cloak, you're going to be invisible, enemies won't shoot you, and that's actually really, really important. So like I said, if you want to go ahead and go for Escape Artist, I definitely would say try out Shield Reset. It's much better. But I personally go for the Tech Sabotage. And that's pretty much the two builds. It's up to you for the power build, what you want to do here, or if you're using the weapon build, what you want to do with the support systems. That's totally up to you. But when it comes to the difference of the two builds, like I said, just go for like crazy power damage on one build and go for crazy weapon damage on the other build. Now, if you're wondering like how you want to play this build, it's pretty much kind of the same for either build, either the weapons build or the power build, but it's kind of different. But primarily, you're going to want to Cloak and then use Flamethrower. Now, the beautiful part about it is that if you Cloak and use Flamethrower, a lot of times by the time that you actually affect the enemies with the Flamethrower, your Cloak is going to be coming back. And then you can Cloak and shoot the enemies. And then by the time that you're done with that, your Flamethrower is back. So it's like really fucking awesome. Obviously, with the power build, you're going to be really focusing on just melting the enemies with the Flamethrower. And with the weapons build, really what you want to do is just kind of set the enemies on fire, debuff the fuck out of them, and then just shoot them all to death. So that's kind of like the two different play styles, but they're both really, really similar, and they're both really easy to play. And like I said, this guy is absolutely incredible. Alrighty guys, so now we're going to get started with the gameplay. It's going to be on Paradox, and it's going to be, of course, on Gold against the Remnant, which is actually the first time in any of my gameplay videos I've ever switched it. But that's because of the new patch and all that type of good stuff. And in the gameplay video, I'm going to talk a lot about the patch. Not so much about the agent. That's why I'm trying to talk a lot about him here, because I want to really get out everything I want to say about him so I can focus a lot of my time on talking about the new patch because I really, really love it. But in the gameplay, it's going to be like a lot of combos, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. Alrighty guys, well this is going to be the gameplay, and I guess I'll start off by talking about the Turian agent just a little bit more. Now I'm not going to talk about the build because I kind of really went over that. I even talked about how you want to play him, and you can see it in the gameplay how I play him, and just kind of like mimic my style or come up with your own style, because there's a lot of different ways you can actually use this build. But I do want to talk about something that's really interesting. I knew this guy was coming out before he came out, and I knew it because my friend was telling me that the game was data mined, and he told me everything that was data mined, and guess what it was? It was the Krogan Gladiator, it was the Solarian Architect, and a Turian Agent, which he was changed. That's the interesting part. Now, I'm assuming they changed him because they knew how overpowered he would have been. And let me tell you, he would have been the best in the game, there's no doubt about it. Nobody would have used anything else because he would have been so fucking strong. And his power originally was going to be Cloak, some type of recon power, which we didn't know what it was, but now we do know what it was, and a proximity mine. Now, understand that when you data mine the game, a lot of the stuff is not actually worded right. So like barricade is called deployable cover, but it's barricade. Proximity mine was more than likely trip mine. So imagine if he had trip mine. He would have been so ridiculous. And I'm assuming BioWare kind of knew it because of the fact that a lot of people play the Angara Insurgent, and they can see for themselves on how powerful trip mines really are. So I think they went ahead and changed it, but I'm happy with Flamethrower. I think Flamethrower is a good replacement because I do feel like if he had proximity mine or trip mine, he would have been just ridiculous. So I definitely still like him a lot, but just know that was something that they did do. Now the other class that's not out yet that was data mined is another Angara. It's going to be like an Angara Engineer. Now his powers are supposed to be Energy Drain, Overload, and Barricade, which sounds fucking epic as hell. So I hope that will be his powers, but we'll have to see. And I don't know the rarity of any of these. Now I was assuming that the Turian Agent was going to be an ultra rare. Why? We already have an uncommon Turian, we have a rare Turian. Where is the ultra rare Turian? We have an ultra rare for everybody else, but no ultra rare Turian. I think they were going to make him ultra rare, and then they decided not to. So big props to BioWare for not making him ultra rare, because that's just a fucking bitch, man. Same with this new Angara. I really hope they don't make the new Angara ultra rare. In fact, the new Angara should be uncommon, because we already have an ultra rare Angara and we have a rare one. Give us an uncommon one. But we'll have to see. My theory is that the new Angara, once he finally comes out, will actually be a rare. So we'll have to see about that. There's also one other map that was data mined that we do not have yet, which is actually pretty fucking epic. It's supposed to be a Fire-Based White remake. Now I'm assuming they'll change the planet because they'll make it make sense. But that sounds awesome. Everybody likes Fire-Based White. So if all this is true, which I'm assuming it is because my friend told me about this, and my same friend who told me about all this told me about the patch before it even was talked about. Because you remember in my last video, I pretty much predicted everything they were going to do. And I said in that video, my friend told me all this. And I wasn't 100% sure, was he bullshitting or was he being truthful? Well, he must have been, because he knew every fucking thing that was going to happen. And he told me, well, he talked to BioWare. And I guess he really did talk to BioWare, and they told him what they were going to do, and he told me, and I told you guys like a day before they actually talked about it. So that was really, really epic. And he also told me about the fact that the game was data mined and all this stuff, so I do believe him 100%. And I definitely believe it now more than ever because the Turian Agent came out, and he told me all about the Turian Infiltrator, which was called the Turian Agent prior to him coming out. So yeah, really, really epic stuff. But let's go ahead and get into the patch now, because this is the main thing I want to talk about in this video. Holy hell, this is good. They done fixed it up. Last time I was just saying they done fucked it up. And now they done fixed it up, man. They really did a good job with this. 100% buffing the combos was nice. Now, are the combos incredibly overpowered now? No, not really. They don't really kill on gold, but they do a lot more damage, you can definitely tell. The powers though, man, holy hell. First of all, a lot of the powers, the base cooldown was lowered. So now with like throw, you can have a 4-second cooldown on that. But a lot of the builds that have throw will also have offensive biotics. And if you have that, you get like 25% cooldown in that. So really like throws like 3 seconds now. It's really nice. a lot of the powers are just so much stronger. And the percentage that you get when you upgrade the powers is insane now. So yes, the powers are just so nice. And this game is starting to really feel more like Mass Effect. It's not all about just shooting everything to death, and unfortunately there's only like 2 or 3 good weapons. That's the big thing they did as well. They buffed so many weapons, and I can honestly say that I've been having a lot of fun equipping a lot of the different like ultra rares and the rares and even the uncommons. Guess what, guys? They buffed the fuck out of the Maddock, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? BioWare, you're looking kind of ridiculous. You changed the gun, you fixed it, then you fucking nerfed it because it was too good. Now you just like literally doubled the damage. That's what they did. They doubled the damage on the Maddock. Okay, so I guess they realized they done fucked up. But anyway, it's nice. It's really nice. Now for some reason the Halberd now has more damage than the Sandstorm. I don't get that. I really don't understand that. But just in general, so many weapons were buffed. Everything feels so much nicer now. The Kef were definitely debuffed a lot. They feel a lot easier, which is kind of a nice thing. The Outlaws are a little bit harder, but it kind of balances itself out because the Kef are definitely easier, but are they a cakewalk? No, they still can be a bitch, no doubt. They're really aggressive. That's the main thing about the Kef. They're really, really aggressive, and because of that, when you get to the later waves on gold, especially if you get like an upload, you can be in a lot of trouble because you can get totally fucked over because they're so aggressive. They're going to constantly keep coming after you, and they can kill you, and they can still instant kill you and stuff, but it's a lot less likely. So that is something really nice. BioWare also did say that they are going to be looking into the teleporting Ascendants and Fiends in the future. The Fiends and Ascendants will still teleport sometimes and grab you with lag and stuff like that, which is very frustrating for people, but they will be looking into that and trying to fix it. So I hope they definitely will. But in general, the enemies are just a lot more fun to play against, in my opinion. And now with our powers, I mean, it's fucking epic. We can actually kill with our powers, we can kill with our guns, and I'm digging it, man. And there's so many builds that are just different now. They just feel so much different. I mean, I feel like I almost have to go back and like re-show some builds, but not really, because the main thing here is that the Vanquisher and melee meta is dead. Now you can still melee, you can still use the Vanquisher, although they did nerf that slightly. But they made the Black Widow like definitely the best sniper now in the game, there's no doubt about it. And it should be the best sniper, okay? It really should be. I don't know why the Vanquisher was like kind of a better sniper than the Black Widow. But anyway, the point is that yes, they pretty much just did a lot of stuff. And now that really stupid linear meta that we were in, which was the bullet sponge meta, the meta where it was better to melee than you use your powers, and there was only like literally 3 guns that were good. Now we have a lot of variety, and it's just a lot more fun because of that. So I'm really digging it. I haven't met a single person who has said they didn't like the patch. And if you guys don't know about it, or you've been like not playing because you're like, yeah, fuck BioWare, fuck this stupid game, I don't want to play it, and you didn't realize the patch came out, go back to Mass Effect, try it out, guys. Everything is a lot better, it feels so much nicer, and I definitely would recommend trying the game out again because you'll actually have a lot more fun with it. I've not had this much fun in a long time, and that was like one of the big things I was doing. I was actually like using all these different builds, trying them out, seeing like what they can do now, and I was also just like equipping random weapons, just trying all these weapons, and I was like pretty much impressed with almost everything. Like I was really not disappointed by like anything now that I think about it. Like I didn't equip like a weapon and I say, oh man, you know, this thing still sucks ass. No, I was like, well, it's not the best thing in the world. There was some weapons that weren't like the best thing in the world, but they weren't terrible or just totally useless. You can actually see them being used and some people having fun with them. They might not be your cup of tea, but they are actually like a lot better now, and it's just so nice. It's so nice. You know, BioWare said that the uncommon guns really aren't meant for gold, which I agree with. I'm all about that, but like a lot of the uncommons were like just so fucking trash, even on silver. Really, the uncommons really should be used for silver. That's the way it really should be. And the rares should be, of course, for gold, and the ultra rares are just, you know, the best. That's how the game should go. And it's starting to really feel that way now. Because I have every ultra rare. Okay, I have like every single one unlocked. And I was using a bunch of them. And like I said, oh my god, man. It's ridiculous like on how some of these now perform. They just feel so nice. And a couple guns, literally they doubled the damage. Like the Crusader. They like literally doubled that damage on that gun. So that is awesome. Oh yeah, and that one stupid pistol that everybody hated, which had the one bullet. I don't even know how to pronounce that stupid gun. But that gun is like the Executioner pistol now. It's really good. So I definitely think I can see myself using that in the video soon. And I'm going to try really hard to use a couple different guns. I'm not always going to use the Hurricane. See, unfortunately, I got really lucky with the fucking Hurricane. I unlocked it non-stop. I actually maxed it out, which is crazy because I have a lot of the guns at level 5 or level 4 or level 6. So yeah, I can pretty much use anything now, and that's really cool. If there's a gun I think is better on a certain type of build, I will definitely try to use it and show it off, you know? Anyway, yeah, like I was saying, like, I just really dig the patch, guys. There's just so much nice stuff happening now. It's so much better to play, so much more fun to play, and it's awesome. Combos are better, the weapons are better, the powers are a lot better, and the enemies are pretty much kind of the same. I mean, some of the enemies got, like, nerfed, like the calf, but they're still not super easy, and there's no, like, one faction now that is, like, super easy, and the other ones are, like, a fucking nightmare, impossible to do. You're gonna have the easiest time against, I would say, maybe the Remnant. After playing like this, because I didn't realize on how easy these motherfuckers were. Like, when we were playing this, I was like, god damn, these dudes are a fucking joke. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the patch. I really am digging it right now. There's just no doubt about it. Alrighty guys, so let me go ahead and talk a little bit more now about the Agent, just to finish it off. I was already mentioning this, but as you can see in the gameplay, he's really powerful. Now, if you have a team to do combos, it's great. But if you do not have a team to do combos, that's the reason I'm using the universal weapon build. Because trust me guys, it works. Like, you can play with randoms and you will fucking dominate. There's no doubt. The main thing though with this build, if you're noticing, I'm using it to kind of set them on fire and then I'm shooting them. It works really well against all the factions, but I would say that the Turian Agent has the biggest problems with the cap, just because they have a lot of shields. And when you deal with enemies with a lot of shields and stuff, it is definitely a problem. So just keep that in mind. But against the Outlaws, he's really strong. Against the Remnant, he's pretty goddamn strong. Observers, of course, are kind of a problem. But yeah, the cap, man, they have so many shields in the later waves. You just see non-stop shields. But see, one of the nice things about Combat Cloak as well, because like I said, you can not go for that if you don't want to. But you can actually see like the extra damage. Because like, you know, as I'm cloaked, I know I'm getting more damage. And I know my flamethrower is. And by the time that I'm done using my flamethrower, my cloak is already coming back. And I can go into cloak and I can shoot, get some damage in like that. And then I can just mix it up and just go right back to flamethrower. And it's fucking epic as shit. There's just no doubt about it. Anyway, guys, that's gonna pretty much do it for this video. So I really do hope that you guys have enjoyed it. And I really do hope that it has helped. If it has, will you please like the video for me? Be sure to subscribe for future videos, and I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day, and peace out.